guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do a palette declutter. You all voted that you wanted to see this video first, so I found some time to film it today, which I'm super excited about. I have all my Beauty Bay palettes here. I'm going to go through all of my palettes by brand, and then there's obviously miscellaneous when I only have one palette. My dog is in the background snorting as ever, so if you hear that, I do apologize. Anyway, so let's start. I do want to obviously declutter quite a few palettes today. I have some plans of depotting some, otherwise I might be a bit brutal in this declutter video. So yeah, let's get into it. So first off, I got my Techni Days palette from Beauty Bay. I actually really like this palette. Not many people really spoke about it. I'm going to keep it. I really like Beauty Bay formula, and this one is just a really nice, it's a nice colorful palette to keep in my collection. So I don't really see any reason to say goodbye to it. So this one is a definite yes, absolutely, I'm keeping it. Sorry for banging the camera. Keeping this one as well. This is the Berries palette. I don't have the big Berries palette, so obviously I'm going to keep this one. I've also not played around with it enough this year, which is pretty bad of me. I have these two palettes, which I've spoken about in another video. I don't know when that will be posted, to be honest. But basically, I haven't used these because I have the two big ones right here. I have the big Midnight and I have the big Earthly. So why do I need these two? I do not. So I actually asked in my other video, which will be posted, I guess, a week after this, I'm not entirely sure. If anybody wants these two mini ones, I've never swatched them, haven't done anything with these two. They're just the 9 pans and they're really beautiful. So those ones I will be decluttering if I can somehow find someone to take them off my hands. I'm just not going to be using them. Then I do have the Book of Magic palette. I ended up wiping this down and spraying it with Lysol and putting it away from, like, separate from my other palettes because I was seeing that there was mold in it. There's no mold in it now since I have done that, which was about maybe 4 or 5 months ago. However, I am thinking that because that happened, it still has kind of put me off using the palette, and I might end up just depotting a few shades. Where I did see the mold was on the mattes. So I might end up depotting this shade, which is really beautiful, this crystal shade right here, and maybe some other shimmers, and saying goodbye to the whole palette. So this is more of a plan to depot palette. It's not a full-on declutter. This was one of my favorite palettes in my collection. It kind of broke my heart that I ended up getting mold on it a few months ago. No mold now, but I still feel like really off about that. So that one is a plan to depot. Then I have the Midnight palette, which I spoke about. This one is very dark, but I have no reason to declutter it at this point. It is what it is. If I need a cool tone purple blue palette, then I will grab this one. The quality is amazing, but it's absolutely enormous. 42 shades. You know, in hindsight, probably shouldn't have got that one. And then I have the Earthly palette. And this one I really do enjoy, and I feel like there's more versatility in this one. This one is a lot nicer in quality. Well, maybe the quality is the same, I'm not sure. But I never got the Wilderness palette, so I feel like this fills that void, because if I had the Wilderness, I probably wouldn't have needed this palette. But yeah, I love this palette actually. I think this is really, I did a No Pan Left Behind with it as well, and I thought it was a lot of fun. So obviously, starting off with Beauty Bay, I'm not getting rid of anything aside from those two that I'm going to end up give away anyway. All right, moving on. I actually have some brand new palettes that I just recently got, and I did film a video, but I don't think it's posted on my channel yet. So I decided to try What's Up Beauty. So I got the Dragon Eye palette. None of these I'm not going to declutter. So don't worry, I do have palettes I'm decluttering, but these are just next to me. So I wanted to show you what I have. These are gorgeous. I did a Get Ready With Me using all 3 palettes. It was one of their like bundles that they had. This I got actually before Black Friday, and I just received it now. So it was a little bit late, but obviously it had to ship from the US. And first time trying What's Up Beauty. So I got the Monsoon as well that was in that bundle. I think all of these are beautiful and the quality is stunning in all of them. And I know I'm reflecting badly in the video. I'm blinding you with those reflections. But yeah, I actually have a dedicated video looking at these, and I do swatch a few shades. That's why I'm not swatching it right now. I don't want my hands to get completely messed up. The Geodes palette is gorgeous. I think out of the three, for sure, I like the Dragon Eye and the Geodes better than the Monsoon, but the Monsoon has some decent mattes in here that I had to dip into for my look that I filmed. So all three of them actually came in handy, and I did I would say a pretty look, but you know, I definitely want to play around with these a little bit more, and they are brand new. So clearly I'm not getting rid of them. Okay, this is a bit of a miscellaneous pile right here. I have some that I'm keeping and some that I am decluttering. All of these are brands that I only have one eyeshadow palette of. So the first one is this Cella palette. This is the Huda Beauty La Vie Neutral eyeshadow palette. I got this in a subscription box. I'm going to say goodbye to this. The quality is just horrendous and I don't need it. Then I have this one. Actually, this one shouldn't be here. I have two. That's a Primark. Actually, I'll bring it out next. It was a Primark palette. I actually have two Primark palettes. So moving on, we got the Nabla palette, the Dreamy palette. And this is beautiful. This was a contender for my Pan That palette for next year. Whether it won or not, who knows? I have yet to film that intro, but you've all voted for this one, and between this one and a few others, and this one got a lot of votes. So you might potentially be seeing a lot of this next year. I'm definitely keeping that one. I love the formula and the quality. I also have only one Essence palette. This I recently just picked up. This is the Circle of Life from The Lion King. Quite a boring neutral palette, but I couldn't resist. I thought it was interesting, and you can see it. Like, there is different colors in here. So definitely a cute little palette that I'm keeping. And I'm also keeping this one, the Sample Beauty Equalizer Volume 2. I love this palette. Thought the quality was so beautiful. It's a very affordable palette if you can still get it. It's usually on discount on Beauty Bay. That's where I got it from. I don't really see it ever at full price. And I really, really love the shimmer quality, and the matte's really good. I actually have a pan in it. So yeah, I do like Sample Beauty formula, but I've not tried anything else from them. So actually all three of these I'm keeping. I am saying goodbye to Cella. All right, then if we go to Primark, I actually have two. I forgot that I had two. So this is the Untamed Panther. I picked this up last September, and I'm gonna say goodbye to it. The formula is really bad, and honestly, I have too many palettes in my collection with a good formula that if I end up using this palette, it would be a waste of my time. I'd rather just use something that has better quality. So I'm going to be saying goodbye to this. And to be honest, I'm going to be saying goodbye to this one as well. I've had this in my collection. This is the oldest palette that I have currently in my collection, the Rose Quartz, one of the oldest. And I'm going to be saying goodbye to it. It's from Primark. It has given me a lot of use over the years. I have enjoyed it. The formula has never been amazing, but I have enjoyed it for being a Primark palette. But you know what? I haven't really cared to go into it all that much this last year. And again, these are not very special shades. The shimmers aren't special enough for me to keep. It's more of the fact that I kept it so long because it was more of a memories palette for me, even though it's a Primark palette. Like, why do I care about keeping this? But you know what? I think I don't want to use this anymore. I think I've got to that point. So maybe I'll keep it for memories and that's about it, but it's going to be decluttered from my actual makeup. All right, moving on, we have Makeup Revolution. I have some singles from Makeup Revolution, which is in like single palettes, which I'll talk about separately, but they're obviously part of this brand. So I have three of their tin palettes. I have the Chilled palette. This one is the Batman palette. I don't know what the official name for this one is, but I just call it the Batman palette. And then I have the, what is this? The Hydra Turtle. So Hydra Turtle is the last one, actually one of the newest ones that I just recently got a year ago. It's really not my favorite, but some part of me doesn't want to say goodbye to this. Like, I feel like I have these blues and purples in the Beauty Bay, so like, why should I keep this? But I feel bad. I feel as though like this is where I'm struggling because I don't really think the formula is all that great. This one also, I have these shades in a lot of different palettes, but I'm going to be keeping it. I just like this color story. It's a very neutral, boring color story. I'm going to be keeping these two. However, I am going to be saying goodbye to the Chilled palette. This one is my favorite out of the three in terms of quality, and I've had it the longest. Obviously, I have all those pans, but I haven't I haven't dipped into it at all this year, and I have no intention of doing that either unless it's pulled in a pan nose eyeshadows or project level up. And because I have no desire to go into it or play around with it more, I just feel like saying goodbye to it. I don't know. And also, I did a no pan left behind like a year or two ago, and there's like 3 glitter shades in here, and they're just horrendous. So, that's a big chunk of the palette there that I don't enjoy. Really, I should say goodbye to the Hydra Turtle. Just knowing that I don't really care for this color story. Oh, I don't know. Now I'm stuck. Now I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do because I don't think the quality of this palette is very good either. This pearl shade is nice, and it is in my pan nose eyeshadows. So, I'm trying to hit a pan in this. So maybe I'll do that and then I'll say goodbye to it. I mean, that sounds kind of silly, right? Because I'm spending time on a palette where I don't really need to. Oh, this is where the panner in me is like, why are you doing this? But then it doesn't make sense to spend time on a palette that I don't care about. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye to these two. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to say goodbye to these two. This one I'm going to keep. Okay, some newer palettes that I recently tested out from Glam Shop. I have the Sorbetti here. These 3 I'm not saying goodbye to because I literally have had them for maybe a month or 2 months. And they are stunning. They are so beautiful. I do swatch these quite a bit in another video that's going to be coming on my channel soon, so I don't really feel like swatching everything, although I will swatch this palette because this is a beautiful palette and it's colorful, and all you color queens out there are going to love this. Oh my goodness. If I can get you to try Glam Shop, if you haven't already tried it, it's really beautiful. I just think these are stunning. So yeah. Definitely keeping it. And this is the first time I've tried Glam Shop. So, I picked up a bundle from them. This was like the 70s bundle. This is the Nagatoa. This is more neutral, but I really like this palette. It's like neutral with a beautiful like sparkles, and I don't know, really gorgeous quality. And then you've got the Muesli Noah, which I think is a nice in-betweener between those other two, because this was still colorful, but it also is very neutral leaning as well. So I think all 3 of these are stunning, and I'm definitely into my indie shadows right now, or my indie brand, so I'm definitely keeping these. Okay, so some more miscellaneous here. I have one MAC eyeshadow palette, which I've had for so long and I'm still keeping. There's nothing wrong with this. I still enjoy it when it's pulled in projects, and it's, it was a nice Christmas edition. I just want to keep this one. I think it's not harming anybody, so I'm keeping that. This is a singles palette. I'm just going to talk about that in a second. I've got my Natasha Denona retro palette here. This one I'm obviously keeping. Nothing wrong with it. Stunning. Spent a fortune on it, so I'm definitely going to be keeping it. And then I also have my Kaleidos Club Nebula palette, which I'm also keeping as well. This one is just too beautiful to let go, and the formula of Kaleidos is beautiful. I really want them to release more like bigger palettes like this, because I keep going to their website hoping that they have a new release, and they don't. All right, and then we have Gloss Gods. Gloss Gods, another brand that I have recently tried this year. I have 4 palettes of theirs. I did used to have 5, but I gave 1 palette to my mother, and I actually have 2 on the way. So it's surely becoming one of my favorite brands. But this is the Look for Rainbows palette. Really stunning palette. Again, I have some swatches on these coming in a video soon, but I will swatch some of them just because, I don't know, they're just gorgeous. They're very, very beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Obviously some a little bit lighter than others, but like this looks purple to me, but it's blue on the viewfinder. So definitely has those duochromes and really stunning quality. This is an all shimmer palette, so definitely keeping that. This is another all shimmer palette, Dancing in the Sky. One of my favorites that I've tried. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. I can't resist these. These are just so good. If you haven't tried Gloss Gods, I would definitely try them. Then I have the Vintage Glam. Another stunning one. This one has some mattes in it too, so you can actually do a look with this one if you don't want just shimmers. But this is a really beautiful romantic mauve palette. Really stunning. Love all of these. And then you have the What's Your Power, which is a lot more colorful. This was, I tried this one before those other ones. Let me just swatch this one. And maybe this one. Should I go? Oh my gosh, do you see that? Look at that color. Look at it. Oh my goodness, look at that. Beautiful. Please try Gloss Gods. Please, if you haven't. They are just out of this world. I mean, maybe not the best indie. I haven't tried all indie, but really impressed with them. I really like them. So obviously I'm keeping these. All right, I told you I was going to get back to this one, and I am. These are all sort of miscellaneous. I have 2 single palettes here, which I have some plans for, and then I have these 3 palettes. So I have one W7 palette on the rocks. I'm going to be saying goodbye to this. It's the case of having a palette that has crap formula, and I have these shades in other palettes, so why am I keeping it? No reason. So I'm going to say goodbye to this one. Next up, I have a She Glam palette. This is the Virtuous Virgo. I'm not going to say goodbye to this, even though I probably should because I shouldn't support She Glam, but I do like this palette. It's the only one that I have from them. I wanted to test their formula, and to be fair, I actually kind of like these greens, and they're a little bit more unique than some greens that I have in my collection. So I'm going to be keeping it probably for another year, see how much I can get done. I don't hate the formula, to be honest. And then I have this one. This is the Sosu Jackson Azure Allure palette. This I have been keeping for the longest because I felt that the shimmer shades were great quality, but I actually recently swatched it and the quality is gone. And I really have never liked the matte. So I've also thought that this palette was very dark. And so for that reason, I am going to be saying goodbye to this. Okay, so my singles. I've got this one, which has got some Makeup Revolution. It's got some e.l.f. It's got a big highlighter in here, which I don't even remember where this is from. I never count this when I count my inventory because I never use that highlighter. I don't like it. So, and then we've got a couple of pastel roses. So I am actually going to be keeping these 2 pastel roses because I like them. And I'm going to be keeping this e.l.f. Actually, let me just rearrange it. I'll show you what I'm keeping because a lot of this I'm not keeping. Okay, so I think I'm going to be keeping these 5 and then everything else, including this one, I'm going to be saying goodbye to. I just don't like them. The formula is not very good. And there's no need for me to keep these singles when I never dip into this. Like I never do. I kept these singles for no reason. Oh, I might actually keep this one actually. I might because I do like this this brown color from e.l.f. Yeah, that bronzy color. So I'm going to keep these 6 and everything else, including the highlighter, is going. And then with this one, this is a Pastel Roses palette. I do have a few more. I did like my own sort of little color story with Pastel Roses and some of my other Makeup Revolution singles. I'm going to say goodbye to all the Revolution singles in this palette because I don't feel the need to hold on to them. Again, they're old now, and I depotted them, you know, to depot something. It was the first time I'd really like full on depotted, and I put like glue on the back of them and everything. I'm obviously keeping all of these, my pastel roses. I'm saying goodbye to these. And honestly, actually, let me just clean this down. I've been looking at some Z palettes to buy, but if I can make room in these, this is so broken, this shade. I'm just trying to pat it down. I do have a pan in it, but yeah, I'm trying to save it because I keep losing product in that one. If I can make some space, which I have some space obviously in this to put some. And then if I take everything out of there, then I'll know like how much more I need to buy for my Colourpop, which I'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, these are all going. So sorry to e.l.f. and Revolution. You have served me well, but it's time to say goodbye. Okay, speaking of e.l.f., I have two e.l.f. palettes here. I have this one. This is the bite size quad, the Berry Bad. I'm going to say goodbye to it. I'm getting rid of a lot of pans in this declutter, but I don't use this. I didn't use it all year and I just don't need to. So I'm going to be saying goodbye to this one. And this has been my Pan That palette for the year. And if you saw my recent video of which, choose my Pan That palette for next year, I told you I'm going to be saying goodbye to this. I've given enough attention and it's at the point now where the shades there are not my favorite shades and I don't feel like the quality is all that great, so I don't want to keep it. So I'm actually getting rid of both of these, so I'm not going to have any e.l.f. palettes left. Okay, then we have a few more Miscellaneous. Let me just wipe this because it's getting dirty. It's getting dirty in here. Okay, so we have Sigma Quarter Roses, my only Sigma palette. I'm keeping this. I'm currently trying to hit pan in this shade. Not my favorite formula, but I have been intrigued and have almost purchased more from Sigma. It's just that formula that throws me off, but I do think their color stories are so pretty. So yeah, I don't want to get rid of this. So that one is staying. Then I have this one. This is my Yasm palette from Moldy Beauty. This one is staying. It's discontinued, brand no longer exists, but I don't care. These are all beautiful and they all perform beautifully, so I'm keeping it. And then this is a new palette for me. I just picked up the Serenity like a month and a half ago from Cosmic Brushes. I haven't played around with it enough to get a general opinion, but I have used a few of the shades and it is absolutely beautiful. So far, I feel like the quality is really good, so I'm really excited. I did want to pick up more of her palettes, but whenever I look, they're always out of stock. So I have to buy them when no one else is trying to buy them. But yeah, it's pretty hard. I wanted to get the more neutral one that was more like a rosy toned and it was out of stock. So I ended up getting this one because I saw it was in stock. So I was like, oh, well, I'm here, I'll buy it. Okay, and then we have my Menagerie palettes. I have the Feral and the Killer Purr. I'm keeping these. These are new to me this year and absolutely stunning formula and quality. Again, I told you I'm kind of getting into, I just want to enjoy my indie brands and shadows. This one is my favorite out of the two. I just think the color story is really fun and really interesting. I don't know, just kind of unique. And these, yeah, this, oh shoot, what did I just do? Oh my gosh, no. You see how like squishy it is? Don't do that. Be kind to your palettes, not like I just was. But yeah, really stunning. It's very similar to gloss gods actually, if you kind of look at it. It's but I do think maybe they have a little bit more opacity to them. So yeah, I just think the formula and the mattes of Menagerie are stunning as well. All right, then we have Juvia's Place. I have 3 palettes from them. I am going to be making changes to that. So let's get into it because this one I should have done this a while back, but I'm going to say goodbye to the Blush Rose. It is a palette that I wanted to declutter a year ago and I was like, no, I won't. And then I did end up using it quite a bit this year. I didn't know Pan Left Behind. And I think these shades are quite pretty. I do. So this one might be one where I just depot those 2 and then get rid of the others because the rest is just matte and I don't really care for them. They're just very average. So I might end up just keeping these or maybe just this one or not even and just decluttering it completely. It depends how much I can be bothered. So this is going to be in the plan to depot pile. And then I have this one. This is the Rebel Mint. I got this last year. This is my newest one. And to be fair, I got it for these 2 shimmers. And I don't think that they are as impactful as I remember them to be. but they are very pretty. So again, I think I should probably put this in a plan to depot pile and see how I feel about them after they're depotted, but I really don't need these two shades, so I don't need the actual full palette. So I'm going to be definitely making changes to that. And then this one is the Bronze Rustic, my favorite. It's been my favorite since I tried Juvia's Place a few years ago, and I'm not touching this one. This one's fine. I'm trying to hit pan in this shade right now. It's a really easy palette for me to use. I've taken it traveling with me, so I'm going to keep it. So that is that brand. Okay, and then we have Oden's Eye. I am not an Oden's Eye fan. I'm not a fangirl. I don't love the brand. I don't love the formula like a lot of people, but I do have 4 of their palettes, right? I got these 3 in the mystery box a couple years ago, and then I did pick up this one this year because I wanted to try their somewhat new formula. So let's start, like, I know I diss on Oden's Eye all the time, but let me just say right now, I'm not going to actually get rid of these because I think they're nice. They're better quality than some stuff that I am decluttering, so why should I get rid of it? So this is the Verdandi. This is what I feel like is the best quality out of the 3 that I got in the mist. Actually, this is probably the best quality that I have out of all of them, but you obviously just get those shimmers and you just get 4 matte. So nothing really special, and the color story is very bland, I think. But I think that quality, had the rest of these been that quality, I think I would have really loved this brand. This one is the Alva Mini Ocean 2. Really beautiful, but I just don't think it's it's the same. I just don't think the quality is the same, but I'm going to be keeping this one. And then I have the Alva, which I wanted for quite a while, and I was very excited to get it in the mystery box, but it just really ended up disappointing me. However, having used it a little bit more, there are some pretty shades in here. And I do have 2 pans. And, you know, I think it's a case where you have to, the more you use the shimmers in this palette, I think the more like creamy and squishy they become. They start off a little dry, which is probably my overall criticism of the formula. I think the mattes are fine. I have no issues with the mattes. And then this one I tried this year. This is the Jewels and Gems. This is beautiful. I love the color story, and I was like, oh, I can't resist. I gotta get that color story. So I picked it up, and I thought it was really beautiful. But these shimmers are dry. I feel like they're a little bit dry. They're still beautiful. So like I say they're dry, but they're still beautiful. They're a little bit rough. Like I don't know what's going on, but they're just a little bit rough. But you look like that. That's stunning. Like they do have their flips, but look at that. Where's the colors? Where are they? Where's this formula that everyone is telling me is amazing? Okay, I went in a little bit harder. That's a horrible shade. What's the other one I did? This one? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I gotta really like go in there. But I don't know, the swatches weren't very impressive. This one though, down here, really beautiful. This is this orange. It's like a yellowy orange. Really beautiful. But yeah, I don't know. I just find them super dry. I don't know. I don't know. They're just not my favorite. But I'm gonna keeping them. I'm keeping them for sure. Because the palettes that I'm decluttering are worse than this, right? This is still beautiful. This is still workable. It's just not my favorite. And I think that's why I'm always disappointed, because I'm expecting it to be my favorite because it's a lot of everyone's favorite and it's just not mine. Okay, then we have BH Cosmetics, good old BH Cosmetics. Oh, I do wish that they would officially be what they were a few years ago, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen. So we have the Avocado Toast. I'm not getting rid of any of these. The formula is great on all of them. Some I've used more than others. This one's a little bashed up because my son had a hold of it for some time. I have the Summer in Saint-Tropez, really beautiful. This was a contender for my Pan That palette, but no one voted for it, so it's not going to be for next year, but I would love to use this a little bit more because I think there's some beautiful shades and I do have some good use on it already. And then we have the Chilling in Chicago, which I love and I've hardly used this year. I mean, I haven't used it at all actually this year. So this one really upsetting that I haven't used it more. It's a really beautiful warm tone palette. And then I have the Blueberry Muffin, which I have in a project, but I actually haven't dipped into it yet. So I'm slacking a little bit. But yeah, this one, nice cool tone when I need cool tones. So keeping all 4 of these. Okay, and then we have Urban Decay. I have 2 somewhat classics here. I mean, obviously the original Naked is very much a classic. And people will be like, why do you still have that? That is so disgusting. You know what? It was disgusting. A few months ago, it was actually, it had some mold in it. So this along with the Book of Magic and a few others, which I'll talk about, I set them aside. I wiped them down, sprayed them, blah, blah, blah. And since then, it's got no mold. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, it's actually fine right now, but also it's really old and I don't really feel like using it. So I think this might be one that I put in a memories pile and I just don't touch it again because I have no intention of really putting this on my eyes, but I still have it. So I thought I'd mention that. And then we have the Stone Vibes. And this one I love. This is also another contender for my Pan That palette for next year. This might be the one because there are a lot of votes for this one as well. I also have a lot of pans in here and I really love this palette. So these are my only 2 Urban Decays. I had no interest in buying any more of the Nakeds. I just don't think they've been very interesting. I wish that they would bring this formula back. This is really, really good formula and more innovative and interesting. And, you know, a lot of brands do better formula than this one, but obviously if they started with this, can you imagine where they would have gone to if they kept going with this formula? But they just stayed with this one, and I'm not really sure why. And then we have ABH. I've got 3 ABH, and I've got, I mean, they're the same 3 that I had when I did my last video. This is the Nouveau palette. This one's really beautiful. And I had no interest in buying their newest one because I just didn't think the color story was all that interesting. The reason I bought this because I thought it was just such an interesting color story and really beautiful quality. I have the Novena, which I love still to this day, and we'll just keep trucking along using that because it's really beautiful. And I have the Jackie Aina palette as well, which again is beautiful. I actually want to use this a little bit more this next year because I feel like I didn't use it enough this last year. So these 3 staying in, formulas are great. There's nothing wrong. There's like no mold, whatever. So it's all fine. All right, then we have my Alter Ego collection. I've got 3 here. These are the same 3 that I had. I haven't tried any more from them, but I know they've released more. This is the Canyon. So this is in my Project Level Up. So it does have quite a bit more use than the other 2. However, it's not my favorite out of all 3 of them. It's in my level 5. So I've got 4 pans there, as you can see. So a little spoiler for my Project Level Up. But yeah, I've been really enjoying this the last few months. This is the Shadow Kiss. This is my favorite out of the 3, but I have massively neglected it this year. I was very much into more of my warm tones versus cool tones this year. So a lot of my cool tones took a backseat, if I'm being honest. But yeah. This one I just think is stunning and very underrated. And then I've got the Artemis palette, which is beautiful. There's definitely shades in here that are a little bit more redundant, but I would not get rid of these. I really like the formula for what they are. Obviously, they're dupes for Natasha Denona. As you saw, I only have 1 Natasha Denona palette. I'm not saying I won't get more from her, but there hasn't been one that she's released where I'm like, I have to have that. So I'm waiting for that to happen. Until then, I'm really happy with these dupes because I do like these color stories. Okay, I forgot this one. This is kind of a miscellaneous. This is the P.Louise, a blend away. I only have 1 P.Louise, and this is massive. I got it in their budget box. If you want to try their budget box, you really do get your money's worth. I will say, like, the products that you get, you might not get what you want, but you get a massive amount of items. You really do, and it's very affordable. I think it's like 36 euros or something. I think that's what I paid, or 37. And I got, like, obviously full products. I got 3 palettes from them. So I got this palette and I got 2 massive face palettes, a big 6-pan blush palette and a big 6-pan highlighter palette. You know, very impractical because they're absolutely enormous, but you still get your money's worth, right? So this one I'm keeping. I wish that it wasn't so huge, and talk about redundant shades. There are so many dark shades and so many light shades, and it really, you could have done this in a little pan, a little palette, and not have everything. I'm not a makeup artist. I don't need all of these shades, but I think the quality of P.Louise is pretty good. So, you know, just take it from me. I actually kind of like their formula, so I'm going to be keeping it. There's no need for me to get rid of it at this point. All right, then I have 3 Nomad palettes. I have not bought any Nomad palettes since I bought this one last year. So I like Nomad. I like their formula. I like their quality. I really like the palettes that they've been releasing in the whole last year. And I have been envious of people buying them and whatnot. There are a few reasons why I haven't bought any more. And probably, you know, the one that kind of stopped me at first was just the financial aspect of it. They ship from the US. I have to pay for the shipping, the pallets, and also the customs. And it actually ended up costing a fortune when I did buy these palettes. So I just thought it's probably not worth it. And then B, the second reason why I don't want to buy anymore is because all of my palettes have mold in them. And, you know, it must be like what they put in the formula. It doesn't work well with the climate that I live in. You know, as you can see, some of my palettes are so old and they're fine. Some are old and they're not fine. Some are new and they're not fine. And some are just fine. So it's really just, it doesn't make sense to me which palettes go bad and which don't. However, these all ended up having some mold in them at some point a few months ago, and they were part of the group of palettes that I put aside to try to salvage to see what I could do, because I really liked these palettes. Now, I have gone back into them, and some of them are fine. Like this one, actually, the Cartagena Magica palette, I think is fine, and I will be keeping this, but I am just a little bit iffy about it. What I'm iffy about are all the mattes, because you can see the mattes are kind of discolored and I just think they're probably ruined. And I don't know, just let me know, should I just get rid of it or should I try to save the shimmers? Because I do like the shimmers. I can live without the mattes, but this potentially could be a palette that I just depot some of the shimmers and then say goodbye to it. It really does break my heart because this was my favorite out of the 3, one of my favorite palettes in my whole collection. And I was very, very, very upset that it happened to this one. This one, I spent so much time on this palette like a year ago, right? Like last year, the whole of 2022, I used this palette so much, right? And then I kind of stopped using it earlier the beginning of this year. And you can see all of the matte shades are all kind of ruined. I don't know if you can see that. Like it's not actual mode, they're just discolored now, and it's really disgusting. So this one I am not keeping. It's really sad. It's sad. And also my shimmers always had hard pan, so I've always had issues with the Nomad formula getting hard pan. I do use my fingers, so maybe it's a me issue. But yeah, this one I actually am going to say goodbye to. It's just it's too foul. It's just, ugh, I can't go into that. And then I have the Fête de Provence. So what I can excuse about these two technically is that I bought these in 2021, right? So they are older. This one I bought last year, the summer of last year. So it is literally a year old. And within less than a year, I ended up getting mold in it. And I do store my palettes together. So some palettes didn't get mold and some did. Like you can see, it's like, obviously this is not the actual mold anymore. It's just discolored. Like the shades are all ruined. The palette is disgusting. I mean, I'm sorry, this is probably not what you want to see, but I'm saying goodbye to this one too. So sadly, without wanting to really declutter them, I have to declutter them. Let me know about this one because I would be willing to keep this one if you know, the consensus is, yeah, keep maybe just a few shades and then get rid of the rest. Or if you all feel like I should get rid of this one, then I will. It's just such a shame. All right, then I have 2 palettes from Nars. I have the Stargaze palette, which I got last year. This is really beautiful. It does take a little bit of time to get these shades to be a little bit more creamy, but once you get to that point, it actually is a really stunning color story. It's just a little bit deep and dark. So not my everyday palette, but I do enjoy it. And I have the Afterglow palette, which I like a lot. This is beautiful. One of my favorite palettes that I own, and one of my oldest palettes actually at this point too, and it's absolutely fine. No mold in sight. So I'm keeping both of these. Okay, and then I have my Huda Beauty palettes. And I've got 3 of the big ones. I don't have any of the smaller ones. I never wanted any of them. So this is the Naughty Nude. I had this in my Project Level Up late last year and maybe somewhat early this year. So I did end up getting some use on this. This one I had to get rid of because it just started smelling bad. This was their like gooey shade or like whatever. I don't know why they add that in. But yeah, I didn't like this at first, but I have done so many. I did like a 3 looks 1 palette with this, obviously used it with my Project Level Up, did No Pan Left Behind, and I got to learn this palette so well. And I think that's what I like about doing some of the eyeshadow projects, because it really makes you understand what some of these shades really can do. And it really helped me like the palette more, because at first I was like, oh, it's a little bit redundant, which I think it still probably is, but I still like it. So and then I have the Desert Dusk. This one I probably should say goodbye to it because I know the formula of this one is going. So I know that it doesn't perform as well as it used to. And yeah, you can see those are really crumbly and there's no impact whatsoever. Oh, it makes me sad. Yeah, that makes me sad. Okay. I don't want to say goodbye to this, but actually I probably will. I think I'm going to have to say goodbye to this. It's just not, it doesn't, as beautiful as it is, the formula is not there anymore. And I got this at TK Maxx, so who knows how old it really was when I bought it. Oh, that breaks my heart. I'm going to say goodbye to this because I really love the color story, but you can see that, like, they literally did nothing. Why keep it? No, I can't keep that. Okay, this one's going. And then I have my Mercury Retrograde, which is stunning, and I'm definitely keeping this. And yeah, beautiful. I definitely want to use this more next year because I haven't used it enough this year, but stunning. So I'm going to be keeping these 2, which kind of makes sense. They're more new than this one. I was really hoping that the one that they released this year would be the one that I would buy, because I didn't buy last year's, but actually I preferred last year's to the one that they did this year. I really want them to release one that has grungy greens. Does anyone else feel that way? I feel like they need to release a palette with grungy greens, or like a chartreuse green or yellow or something interesting. I don't know. I didn't like it. It was too close to the Natasha Denona palette that also released this year. I just thought they were too dark. There's too many darks and blacks and whatnot. So anyway, say goodbye to this one. All right, this is my Colourpop collection. It's mostly 9 pans, maybe some 12 pans. I actually don't have many new palettes here at all. I stopped buying from Colourpop a year ago because I was really, really disappointed in the last palette that I bought from them. I just felt the quality wasn't there anymore. And Colourpop's another one where I have to spend the money on the product. I have to spend the money on the shipping. I have to spend, I mean, sometimes they have actually free shipping, so maybe not necessarily shipping, but it always gets stuck in customs. I always have to pay like double in customs because the box is usually big, because I do big hauls and whatnot, and it just ends up costing me a fortune for a drugstore price brand. You know what I mean? So it's like, why? So anyway, let's talk about the palette that really disappointed me last year, which is the Aurora Struck. This one I bought when it was on the first release. I know it released again when they got it back in stock, but I got it on the first release and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I don't need any more palettes, but I absolutely want this one. It is too stunning to miss. But to be honest, I could have missed this palette because the formula is so bad. The only nice shade is the shade over here. Not that I love this shade all that much. I mean, that's it. Like, I'm not showing you. Look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. But I mean, I will watch them. But like, let's look at some of these other ones. And I will admit some of these are more toppers. This one is horrendous. This one is terrible. Look at it. It's like, oh, it's awful. It feels like that Huda one that I just touched. Oh my gosh, they look so pretty. Why is it swatching so nicely? Okay, whatever. Why is that swatching so... But you can see this one, maybe I just like the metallic. I don't know. I just feel like this one, I went in a lot, right? And there's nothing left on my... Like, I don't know. Those swatched really nicely. Now I really need to reconsider my thoughts on this. I wasn't going to declutter this palette, but I was going to depot it. I don't know, maybe I just need to play around with it a little bit more. Maybe I was jaded. I was like, this is not the same formula. This is awful. But those are actually okay. This one is lackluster, I do think. These two probably, I mean, this one is the only one that really has that full impact. Maybe that's just what I'm craving and I'm not getting. I don't know. I think about this one. That altered the universe a little bit. But ultimately, I was definitely disappointed in this. And I will say, with all of my Colourpop palettes, I have a plan to depot for all of them because obviously they're all magnetic. And also, I mean, aside from this one, I don't think I'll depot, and maybe a few others. I have rearranged them all. So they're all, aside from maybe a few, they're all different from their original color stories. And I don't know how I would declutter them in their current state because they are all different from what they're meant to be, right? And so maybe if I rearrange them a little bit more better, then I would enjoy them more. So all of these I've rearranged, and then just these three I've kept as the original. So the Miss Bliss is in the original form, and it's fine, and I'm definitely keeping it, and I will keep it in its original form. First Colourpop palette I ever picked up back in 2020. So it's an old one, and no mold, is absolutely fine, and I still like it. So, and then we have the California Love, which I really do love the color story, and I really enjoy this one. I mean, I might be able to get rid of this because this is the glitter, and this is a dark glitter, so not my favorite. But again, I left it as is because I really enjoy it. And then I have the Hocus Pocus 2 because I didn't end up getting the first one or the second one, but I did get this one from last year. And I just thought it was fun. And this is the only one that has the big palette, so I can't really rearrange this anyway unless I put it in a different palette. So these three I'm definitely keeping. However, with these, I need to do another video. So that's why I've kept this to the end of the video, because I'll just have to do like a follow-up at some point, probably early next year. But I have the Wild Child. This one, actually the only difference is this shade, because I did like the color story of this. So this one I'm going to definitely keep. I do like this palette, actually. I think this has the best Colourpop formula that I have in my collection. Like, something went right with Wild Child. I wasn't a huge fan of the color story at first because I felt like it was very dark, but I actually really appreciate the formula. I think it's this one that looks crap. This is the Wine and Only, but it looks crap now because this is the last one that I ended up rearranging, and it had all my leftover shades. But I've got like Just My Luck, which I think I can definitely get rid of some shades in here. This one, I think I think I should probably get rid of some of these shades too. But what needs to happen is I need to take them all out, and I need to go through them all again, and I maybe put them back in there. Like, I like this one. Like, this one I do like. This one, maybe swap this one out, add maybe a couple more, maybe swap these two out, add something else, and this would be perfect. So this one I really like. I like how it is. But I find it incredibly hard for me to know how to declutter these if I'm going to in their current state, because a lot of the color stories are super fun. Some of them are not very cohesive at all, and I need to rearrange them. Some work really well. It's just hard. I'm just showing you right now in case you haven't seen them, because I do have a video of me doing this, and I have left them since I've done it. But I feel like, I think honestly, I want to just declutter a lot of the mattes. When it comes down to all of the Colourpop singles that I have, if I consider these all singles, I have so many oranges and nudes and browns, and I don't need them all. So I really think I would like to take them all out and declutter about half of the mattes. and some of the shimmers and some of the glitters, and then start fresh. And then obviously some palettes will just end up being decluttered regardless because I don't have enough shades to fill them up, or I'll just put them in a Z palette depending on how many I really do end up getting rid of. Yeah, some of these still in projects, I'm still working on them. It's just they're all kind of scattered everywhere. And some a lot of fun, and then some I find really hard to use as the new color story. So yeah, thought I would just explain these at the end of the video because these are all other eyeshadow palettes that I own. But at this point, I'm not decluttering them, but I do have plans to do something with them. All right, so I have about 13 palettes if we include my singles as well, that has all those singles. I have 13 palettes here that I'm gonna be decluttering. I do think that I will probably keep the Desert Dusk for a memories, just because I do have memories for it. I also might keep the Chilled palette from Revolution as a memories. Maybe some of these other ones. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, all of these are being decluttered. I'm no longer going to be putting them on my eyeballs. And yeah, these are going. So thank you very much, but no thank you. And then these, along with the Colourpop palettes, which I no longer have on the table, are my plan to depot. So potentially I could depot some shades in here, or I could just say goodbye to this. And then the same thing for the Cartagena Magica from Nomad. These two I'm definitely going to be depotting the shades, or maybe I'll just declutter them. I'm not entirely sure. But these are kind of my, you know, I plan to do something with them. Give me 6 months. If I don't do anything with them, I should just declutter, right? That's probably what I should do. Anyway, that is my video. Thank you so much. If the lighting was a little bit weird, apologize, but hopefully you enjoyed it. 13 palettes to declutter is quite a lot. I didn't expect to declutter that much, and there's some palettes there that I didn't expect to say goodbye to, but I'm just trying to be honest with myself. There are palettes that I just don't need anymore, and you know, if you kind of look at them, majority of them is because the quality is crap. So you know, I'm trying to whittle it down, trying to keep palettes that have great formula, great color stories, are obviously not too old, and just bring me joy. And that's what I want going into 2024. I want makeup to bring me joy. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.